We're tracking the top story of the hour for you. In a major diplomatic and economic breakthrough, India and the United States have unveiled an interim framework towards a broader bilateral trade deal. While the move follows US President Donald Trump's announcement of a trade deal with India, slashing tariffs on Indian goods to 18% from the earlier 50%. While the interim agreement is expected to be formally signed by mid-March. Meanwhile, the United States has also scrapped the additional 25% tariffs imposed on India over the purchase of Russian oil. Well, amid concerns, the Commerce Minister has given firm assurances that India's farmers and sensitive agricultural sectors remain fully protected. While the deal opens access to about $30 trillion, in fact, a market for Indian exporters benefiting MSMEs, farmers and even fishermen. In return, India will purchase up to $500 billion worth of goods of US goods over 5 years, spanning energy, aircraft technology and even industrial products. A move that New Delhi says reflects rising domestic demand and not binding investment commitments.
यूनाइटेड स्टेट्स ऑफ अमेरिका ने भारत के साथ अपने संबंधों को और मजबूत बनाने के दृष्टिकोण से जो बायलैटरल ट्रेड एग्रीमेंट का पहला अंश अब तय किया है, उसके तहत 50% की जो रेसिप्रोकल टैरिफ भारत के निर्यात के ऊपर अमेरिका में लगती थी, वो अब 50% से घटकर मात्र 18% लगेगी। और 18% हमारे जितने अड़ोस पड़ोस के देश हैं, जितने देश हैं जिनके साथ हमारी स्पर्धा रहती है, उन सभी देशों से कम है और आगे आने वाले दिनों में हमें और हमारे निर्यातकों को बहुत लाभ देंगे। बहुत बड़े पैमाने पे यूनाइटेड स्टेट्स ऑफ अमेरिका, जो दुनिया की सबसे बड़ी अर्थव्यवस्था है, लगभग $30 ट्रिलियन की अर्थव्यवस्था, अब हमारे निर्यातकों के लिए मोस्ट प्रिफर्ड ड्यूटी के साथ खुलती है। और जिस प्रकार से हमारे किसानों के हितों का संरक्षण किया गया है, पूर्णतः संरक्षण किया गया है किसानों का, डेयरी का, उसको मद्देनजर रखते मैं मानता हूं ये जो यूनाइटेड स्टेट्स और भारत के बीच जॉइंट स्टेटमेंट कल देर रात फाइनलाइज हुआ, विश्व के समक्ष रखा गया, इसका देश के कोने कोने में स्वागत हुआ है। और इसीलिए मैं डंके की चोट पर कह सकता हूं कि किसी प्रकार से ये करार भारत और यूनाइटेड स्टेट्स ऑफ अमेरिका के बीच भारत के किसानों के हितों को, भारत के एमएसएमईज को, भारत के हैंडीक्राफ्ट और हैंडलूम को किसी प्रकार का कोई नुकसान नहीं पहुंचाता है, बल्कि हमारे हुनर वाले युवा युवती, हमारे कर्मठ कर्मचारी, हमारे कारीगर, हमारे विश्वकर्मा, हमारी बहनें, विशेषकर जो वस्त्र क्षेत्र के साथ जुड़े हैं, टेक्सटाइल्स, लेदर के और फुटवेयर के साथ जुड़े हुए हैं, टॉयज के साथ जुड़े हुए हैं, स्पोर्ट्स गुड्स के साथ जुड़े हुए हैं, ढेर सारे ऐसे क्षेत्र हैं जहां भारत को अब अमेरिकन मार्केट में लाभ मिलेगा।
In the joint statement, the Indo-US joint statement, it also mentions, apart from GPUs, purchasing more GPUs from the US, it also mentions that we will be purchasing more goods related to data centers. So if you could give us some insight into what that would be.
So data centers is going to be a major growth journey in the coming years. So far we have committed investments of $70 billion. If we add the other announcements, it's about $90 billion. But I expect that in the coming months, this number will go beyond $200 billion. That is the general expectation once we talk to the industry, That's the general expectation which is coming up. And that will generate new opportunities for our service providers, for the young startups who can provide new solutions. And it's going to create that strength which is needed in all the 5 layers of the AI architecture, AI stack. We need strength in each one of that.
This is a very important deal because it comes soon after we have concluded the mother of all deals with the European Union, 27 countries. After that, a trade deal with the United States, I think, has given our exporters, our small industrialists, our farmers and our laborers a great advantage over our competitors. So I would say that our exports to the United States are going to increase very significantly. We will have very good market access to a large market of $30 trillion. Combined with the EU, we will have a market of almost $60 trillion. And I think this is very good news for all of our people, especially our youth, as the Prime Minister said in Parliament just the other day.
साहब, कांग्रेस कह रही है कि मोदी सरकार ने घुटने टेक दिए और ट्रंप हाउडी मोदी पर हावी हो गया। नमस्कार।
देखो, ऐसा है कि ये डायनेस्टी के डिफाल्टर डींगबाजों की जो लंपट लावी है, ये अपने फर्जिफिकेशन के जस्टिफिकेशन करने के चक्कर में देश में काल्पनिक कंफ्यूजन क्रिएट करने की कोशिश में लगे हुए हैं। और इस लफाजी की लंपट लावी को अच्छी तरह समझना चाहिए कि ये डील जो है वो 100% भारतीय हितों की सुरक्षा से भरपूर है। इसके लिए आपके सर्टिफिकेट की देश को जरूरत नहीं है। लेकिन अफसोस की बात है कि ये जो अपने फर्जिफिकेशन का जस्टिफिकेशन करने के चक्कर में झूठ के झाड़ से सच के पहाड़ पर हमला करते हुए रहते हैं। और कभी कहेंगे कि हम जो है इस अपने फर्जिफिकेशन का जस्टिफिकेशन करने में जो है वो पार्लियामेंट के सेशन को वॉश आउट कर देंगे।
पार्लियामेंट में डिस्कशन की मांग की है इस मुद्दे पर, और वो कह रहे हैं जो अमेरिका ने कहा वो मोदी ने कर दिया।
पहले आप डिस्ट्रप्शन से तो बाज आओ, आप डिस्कशन तो तब करोगे। आप जो है वो आप तो इस सोच और सनक में लगे हुए हो कि हम पार्लियामेंट के सेशन को जो है वॉश आउट करने का रिकॉर्ड बनाएंगे।
Well, the India and US interim trade deal, in fact, the framework of it has been released today. It's important to understand that just a while back, we heard Union Commerce Minister Piyush Goyal walk us through the details of the bill, where he's also talked about that how agriculture will be one sector that will, that's been sort of negotiated upon, keeping in mind the interest of Indian farmers as well as Indian laborers. What's also important to understand is that the deal in the interim trade deal has a lot of nuances, which I'm just going to take you through. What's important to understand that the US has cut tariffs on India from a 50% to 18%. This is a very important data point because, of course, this comes as a huge relief to exporters. I'm also going to walk you through the details because what's also important is that the interim trade framework of the deal has been negotiated upon. Remember that the deal will come in its finalization, in its fine print in March when the deal is officially signed. What's important to understand is that apart from this also, like I was mentioning, that agriculture is one sector that's been kept into mind, the interest of Indian farmers as well, and genetically modified crops. So this is something that Piyush Goyal has also spoken about. He said that, genetically modified crops will not be coming to India. That's an important relief for the farmers. What's also important is that India is expected to cut tariffs on all US industrial goods. This is extremely important for businessmen of both nations, given that, already the tariffs on India from the United States have been cut from 50% to 18%, and like Piyush Goyal said, that this will come into effect by, of course, sometime next week. And apart from this, what's also important to understand is that textiles, leather and chemicals get relief from US tariffs. Apart from this, he's also mentioned multiple, of course, there are sectors which will now get relief, including US will in fact remove tariffs on pharmaceuticals, gems and aircraft parts also. This is also what the Commerce Minister has spoken about. What's also interesting is the fact that the Commerce Minister did not speak about is Russian oil, which is also something that we've seen, has seen a mention from the US side, especially, he's referred all those statements for the MEA to comment on. He said that, the MEA is somebody that must comment on this. And apart from this, India also gets preferential access for auto parts. This is an extremely important point, given the fact that, this opens up the market in some sense, and India is also expected to address US concerns on non-tariff barriers. Remember that there has been a discussion on tariff barriers, and non-tariff barriers is something that's extremely important because these are also factors that impact the deal at large. Apart from this, a very important data point is the fact that India plans to, in fact, purchase about 500 billion. These are purchases that will occur in the next 5 years. It's about $500 billion worth of purchases that India expects to, spend on in the next 5 years with the United States. Now, the deal is extremely important for, of course, a variety of reasons. This also opens up new markets, like I said, but it also allows to, deepen strategic tech and supply chain alignment. So that's pretty much the framework, and all that we know about the framework of the deal that has been worked about between the United States and, of course, India. Remember that this deal, in fact, took about 13 months to negotiate, and the final signing of the deal will take place in March this year. Meanwhile, let's also take you through what the impact of the deal has. Remember that the deal will have, in fact, significant impacts for India. Remember that the tariffs haven't reduced from about 50% to 18%. And like I said, that the Union Commerce Minister Piyush Goyal has said that this will come into effect by next week. So remember that this will be a huge relief for Indian businessmen, especially exporters. What also is important in this is the fact that there will be cheap imported nuts, fruits and alcohol. So of course, these sectors will definitely benefit directly from this. Apart from this, there will also be better tech supply availability through this deal. Remember, like I mentioned, that this deal will be inked and we will get the fine print of the deal only in March once it's signed. Right now, this is the framework of the deal, but going by the framework of the deal, it shows that, there will be faster medical device entry as well. Remember that Piyush Goyal has also spoken about this. He's also spoken about pharmaceuticals and how this opens the market. Remember that there is discussion on trade barriers as well as non-trade barriers. And meanwhile, we also spoke to experts and we also got a sense of what the market was feeling about, or what experts were feeling about this. In fact, a lot of those experts spoke to NDTV. Let's also listen into the reactions coming in on this.
How significant was the assurance on the Russian oil significant for this joint statement and the trade deal that we'll see in March to come out? And also, just a couple of weeks ago, we saw the India-EU sign an FTA. Do you think that was also a clincher in many ways, which, pushed this, advanced this a little? Because we had, for instance, Carl Bildt, the former Prime Minister of Sweden, commenting very recently and saying that it was the India-EU deal that finally led to the India-US trade deal.
Well, I think you're absolutely right. I think that the engagement that India has shown with the EU, not to mention the other deals with UK and EFTA, which is Norway, Switzerland, Luxembourg, have all had an impact. I think that the real significance in regard to Russian oil is that India has moved in the direction of trying to help to rein in the Russian invasion of Ukraine as the worst violation of the UN Charter since it was put into effect some 80 years ago. But it is a long way from what President Trump has said. He said earlier in his True Social statement that India had just said they weren't going to buy, that India's not going to buy any more Russian oil. Well, that doesn't seem to be the case. I mean, it's left out of the joint statement, and the executive order is not completely clear on that point. So the good news is, yes, I think that India is a great power internationally, and that means that great powers have interest in peace and prosperity throughout the world, including what happens between Russia and Ukraine.
In fact, at 6:30 today at NDTV, we will have the Union Commerce Minister Piyush Goyal himself talk about the India-US trade deal in depth. Remember that this is right after the framework of the deal has been announced earlier today.